Hello and welcome to I Do Canals. The object of our interest today is about 250 yards that way, and it's Isis Lock, which connects the Oxford Canal to the River Thames. The Oxford Canal, quick recap on that, the construction began in 1771 and it was headed up by James Brindley, assisted by his son-in-law Samuel Simcock. James Brindley died in 1772, ignore the goose, and Samuel Simcock finished the last sort of 3/4 of the canal, but it took nearly 8 years. Opening day, just down here at the bottom of the canal, on New Year's Day 1790, to great fanfare. The bottom half of the canal, bottom 3/4, was constructed much more cheaply than the top, and there were some significant differences, and we'll point some of those out when we go and have a look at the lock in a minute or two. So its centre of Oxford is just there. You could walk there in 4 minutes, probably 5. And there's a train track, there's geese, we've been buzzed by flying saucers. There was a great bunch of lads just all came over to say hello a minute ago. We've got a little video of them, we'll put you on in a minute, guys. Well done, thanks for saying hello and taking an interest. So I hope you enjoy the video. It's busy, so I suspect that some of our shots might be audio dubbed over the top because there's a lot of people about, and we don't like to get other people on the video because you've got to go through permission and all that palaver. Anyway, enjoy. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's 270 yards from the River Thames to Isis Lock on the Oxford Canal. On the way, we passed under the Sheepwash Channel Railway Bridge. The water is very clear, indicating that few boats make their way through. It looks very shallow too. There's very little headroom, and even Karen had to stoop. Under the bridge, it's home to lots of pigeons and stalactites. Just the other side of the bridge is Rewley Road Swing Bridge, which spanned the Sheepwash Channel. Built in 1851, the swing bridge was for the former Buckinghamshire Railway line of London and North Western Railway that used to serve the Oxford Rewley Road Railway Station. Go, try saying that 3 times quickly. The bridge was designed by Robert Stephenson, English civil engineer and locomotive designer, and the only son of George Stephenson, who was known as the father of the railways. The swing bridge closed in 1984 and stood and lay rusting for years. In 2021, the bridge was beautifully restored to the excellent condition that you can see it in today. The bridge is only one of 2 swing bridges in England that are scheduled monuments. In 2019, ownership passed from Network Rail to the Oxford Preservation Trust. For those of you who like details, the swing bridge was 75 feet long and weighed 85 tonnes. The bridge was turned by 2 men with the motion transferred from the hand cranking mechanism through shafts to toothed cogwheels engaging with the rack. At its height, it was being swung across the channel about 6 times a day. It was said that opening the bridge was a laborious and time-consuming task. It is better to use Duke's cut if reaching the Thames is a matter of urgency. It was closed to passenger traffic in 1951 and then to goods traffic in 1984. There are great views of the bridge as you walk from the river to the canal. So now on to the main reason why we are here today. As we come to the end of the short Sheepwash Channel and swing to the left, there is Isis Lock. There are many popular walks along the canal, around the lock, and of course over towards the River Thames. Here is where Isis Lock is as generated on our website map, and just off to the right centre, just a few minutes walk away, is Oxford City Centre. As luck would have it, as we arrived at Isis Lock, there was a boat called Charlotte about to come through. Charlotte's crew were using the lock and the channel as a means of turning their 70-foot boat around so as to head back up the Oxford Canal. It was their first time in such a manoeuvre, and they hit a snag or 2 in the process, but overcame them very confidently and managed everything nice and safely. Before we take a look at Charlotte and her crew, here's a bit of how to transfer from the canal to the river. Navigating a lock on a canal, once you've done a few, is child's play. However, this over here is Sheepwash Channel, and just a few hundred yards down here is the River Thames. The flashing lights here, green, means that navigation conditions are normal on the River Thames, not the Oxford. The Oxford's fine. And there's some clear instructions on how to get your boat from here, the lock, into the River Thames. So we're stood about here, Here's the end of the lock island just here, and it's suggesting that the flow of the river runs through here and strong on the way down. It says bring your boat in and moor on the landing, and it says attach the front rope to the appropriate bollard depending on the length of your boat. Then push it out and allow the water flow to swing your boat around so that you're literally facing bow forwards the right direction. And somebody playing tennis. And then navigate your boat down into the channel and then onto the Thames. Different times of year, different strengths of flow. This time of the year, there's practically nothing. I bet it's fun in the springtime when it's been raining cats and dogs for weeks and weeks and weeks. It's an emergency number, you can call it if you need to. Good that, isn't it? So the three sets of bollards that you can see there, the set on the left are to keep the pontoon anchored, and the set on the right are the ones that you moor up to. And if you've got a short boat, you moor up to the middle one. If you've got a long boat, you moor up to the front one. And you moor your bow only, and you allow the current to swing your boat around so that your stern moves towards the boom. And when it's as far round as possible, you cast off, and then under power, you push your boat round into the River Thames. Got it all on camera. Been there, done it. Isis Lock was added to all of this in 1795 and 1797 by David Harris. Originally, the link to the Thames was via a flash lock, which is way down there by Hythe Bridge, which is about a 5-minute walk. And currently Hythe Bridge is where the Oxford Canal terminates. So originally this was built as a wide lock, and it was later reduced after it had fallen into disrepair to a narrow lock. And it was built as a wide one because large barges would come up from the Thames up into here and down into the Oxford Wharf buildings. Would have been great if that would have been here today, wouldn't it? Of course, that's the only place those boats could go because everything that way, lockwise, is narrow. Now, just a little bit further upstream, up canal, about 2 miles, we've got Duke's Cut. We've featured Duke's Cut before. If our memory serves right, was completed in 1789. And then all of the locks from here right the way up to, but not including Hill Morton, are like this one. Single gates, single sluices, built much cheaper. They also built most of the bridges out of wood and swing bridges out of wood. They covered a good section of the River Cherwell. It wasn't very good. It saved money, but in the long term it's cost a lot more.
There's something different about this lock. There's one sluice and one gate. Normally on the upper end there is 2 gates. This forms a dam to stop the water going down into the lower level.
So when Charlotte came through, you may have noticed that the water levels between the Oxford Canal and the empty Isis Lock was only about this, only about 2 feet. And that's because this is a stop lock. And it was built to protect and retain the water levels in the Oxford Canal when the River Thames was running low. And I suppose there have been times when the Thames had been running high that the water's been right over here. And then, of course, this would have been surplus to requirements. When the canal opened in 1790, Bridge 243 opened at the same time. It was completed at the same time. Karen pointed out that it's a horse bridge, installed specifically for horses to cross from one towpath to another, hence the gentle slope up and down. It's a remarkable looking cast iron bridge nonetheless. This is the last winding hole on the Oxford Canal, unless of course you use Isis Lock. It is for boats to 55 feet. If you're longer, you've got to go through the lock, Isis Lock, and turn around this side of the boom. So word of warning, as you're going through in your longish boat, start your turn quite early. Get your bow round so you can reverse back up and do a 5 or 6 point. Charlotte did an all right job, but they hadn't done it before, so if they'd known, I'm sure they'd have done differently. If you happen to go down the arm here, you've got to reverse all the way out. So use this or park up that way. That's it. So until about the 1960s, and a good while before these buildings here were built, these were all wharf buildings and buildings built to serve the cargo carrying on the canals. But you can see that these modern habitable buildings have been designed sympathetically with the way that the old wharf structures would have looked. You can fall in again.
No, come on.
Okay. Well, we'll do it together, won't we?
Oh.
Despite appearances, I don't think either of us are heavy enough to move this, this pontoon enough. So anyway, River Thames, that way. And if you're bringing your boat through Isis Lock, and you're a shortish boat, moor the bow up to here and allow the stern to swing out. If you're a longer boat, moor it up to the front bollard that way, allowing the current to push your boat out. Or today, if there isn't any current, and there's none to speak of, bring your boat out and start pushing your bow round early on. As Charlotte's crew found out, following the notice in here and coming in here and then trying to turn around was impossible. They got themselves into all sorts of a mess. It wasn't their fault. Their first time doing it, there's a willow tree over here that's a little bit shorter than it was earlier on. But otherwise than that, they did a really good job. But it was nice, wasn't it? Weather was good.
Yeah, weather was lovely, actually.
Didn't rain.
No, but we did bring the brolly.
We did bring the brolly. We brought such a lot of kit with us. We've got 4 Sherpas over there with wheelbarrows and haversacks. And
No, we haven't.
Okay, well, we haven't. There's a brolly. So what would we like them to do?
Subscribe to our channel.
Please do that. And when you do that, push the little bell button and you'll get notified when we put up a new video,
Yeah.
which is normally a Thursday, but we're moving to Fridays because with work commitments and other things going on, it's too much for us to record at a weekend and get it up by Thursday. There's so much going on. So Fridays from now on. Fantastic. And we'd like them to push the like button as well, wouldn't we?
We would, yeah.
And we hope you enjoyed the video and please come again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Going in now.